attention, Aquarius I am. We in the Aquarius age for the next 2,000 years, you dig?
Swing low, time to move on. Light years in time, ahead of our time.
I want to free your mind by helping you understand the zodiac signs. That's right, you're live with Aquaman in the zodiac zone where the cosmos is your home. I'm your very own Anpu, the real urban guru, coming through on the mothership. So let's open up your cosmic memory bank and swing down to earth where the shit stank. Hey, peace everybody. Welcome back to Hip Hop Astrology TV. I'm your host, Anpu, the real urban guru, man. Man, happy new year to you. When we get to this part of the year, the new year, we start to get into our feelings and our emotions. Now I'm gonna talk a little bit about the misconception of new year and the elevation of consciousness. And I talked about it in my last free webinar. Make sure you get on my mailing list, myastrologycoach.com. As soon as you go on the site, a slider pops up, asks you to join the mailing list. Get on that list because sometimes I do free private webinars and whatnot. So, you hear Happy Jew Year is the favorite one, right? And I must say I have been at that stage in evolution of my journey. And what happens is, we coming from a standpoint that Europeans have totally dominated the earth, and they have used the form of technology, and they have switched and stole every single thing in creation that you can think of, including your calendar system, right? And so then when you start looking into the calendar of New Year, and it's like, wait a minute, January is for their god Janus with the two heads, and it's worshiping this. And when you get to July, August, September, October, November, that's the Jason months, and they're trying to, steal your energy somehow, right? And, July is really the ninth month, or all of this stuff. And July was named after Julius, and August from Augustus and whatnot. And these were all Pope Gregory's homeboys, and he paying homage to them. And I'm gonna tell you something. That's such a at one point it becomes true. It's historical in a sense, right? But then we also spit that truth as if it is a way of liberation just because it's the truth. And when you bring the element of the truth and you don't have no replacement of it per se, you're not solving that equation per se, you're really doing yourself and the listener a disservice, right? Because there's no solution. But the truth of the matter is, the elevation of the matter is, when you're dealing with time, okay, then let's understand that time is just a measurement of something. How long it take from this point A to reach point B. That's all it is. It's just a measurement of something. It only comes into existence when you measure something. All this time is in the such and such dimension. That's a bunch of bull crap, man. Time is a measurement. You do not know what it is until you measure one point to the next point. This is why all this mental, this stuff, like I get it because we're in the age of Aquarius, but it starts to drive people. You get so smart, you get stupid, right? And then for real, it starts to create a severe psychosis of the mind because there's absolutely no practical application. And it's just all these fucking abstract ideas. All right. And so time is just a measurement. All right. Now, I always look at the blueprint of God. That's the game. How, when you start looking at this thing from the God perspective and say, well, shit, Why would Gregory come and redo the calendar? Oh, Gregory redid the calendar because the Julian calendar over a period of time wouldn't coincide with correct measurements. So therefore they adjusted the calendar to make it more of a 365-day point, whatever, to make it coincide with timekeeping for the duration of years. So then they added a leap year in every 4 year, whatever and stuff, because this throws the adjustment of the calendar and balance it out. Is that an astronomical fact? That becomes the question. Meaning, is the measurement of what they're measuring correct? Is a year 365 days? Yes, it is. Okay, well, cool. So then the next question is, or really ain't really a question, if they named it after their homeboys, yo, I respect Julius Caesar, you get July. Oh, I respect Augustus, you get August. That's fly. That's dope. Because it's giving you the blueprint on how you can set up your own timekeeping system, and you can name a month whatever you want to name a month, man. The name of the month from Janice to Booger Wooger don't mean nothing. It's just the name of a month. Is the measurement in mathematics correct? If the mathematics is correct, you're going to have to leave it alone. Because now you're just saying your feelings about who it is that's bringing forth the calendar. You see what I'm saying? See, at some point in time, man, black folks going to have to admit some shit. You're going to have to admit that, A, you got your ass beat in Africa. I'm just going to have to keep it real. You got that ass beat in Africa, right? Europeans came in, they dominated the world, and then you saw post-Africa was transatlantic slave trade, right? So then you see that shit, and now we really the descendants of that shit, okay? We the descendants of the slaves on this landmass, all right? But I'm telling you, it's a new day. It been a new day. See, listen, the old Confederate white boy who didn't want you to have shit, the Jim Crow white boy who made it his business that you ain't gonna get nothing, and they was willing to die to make sure you got nothing, that white boy been out of control. He been out. Now, here's the problem. The sentencing inside of the justice system still reflects Confederate ideology. There lies the problem is within the justice system. Because when cops kill somebody, it don't happen, or it's tougher sentences on black folks. And the problem lies within justice system. Confederate boys infiltrated that shit. That's what the problem is, all right? But let's back it up on this calendar thing, all right? So the measurement of the year's correct. Now let's look at this. Because you're going to hear, well, the spring equinox is the new year. If you want the spring equinox to be the new year from March 21st to March 21st, that's fine and dandy. You can do that. We understand that. Look at what you're measuring. You're measuring when spring starts. And technically March 21st, the day in the northern hemisphere, bro, it's still kind of cold. You're not seeing the trees and stuff blossom. Depends where you're at, right? So maybe if you're down in the southern states, maybe they're starting to blossom at this time of year because they're not getting snow anyway. But if you're a little bit more north in the snow belt, March 21st, it don't feel like the first day of spring all the time. It's usually about 40 days afterwards then we start to see something, right? So if you want to mark your measurement of a year, March equinox, because you're saying, hey, the flowers are starting to bloom, right? Nature is coming back to life. That's your calendar system. You got every right to do that. We know what you're measuring. But see, now there's a counter argument for those that are below the celestial equator that is like down in South America that's saying, wait a minute, this is your spring equinox is the first day of our fall. It's about to start getting cold. Yeah, that's what happens, right? So their reality down south on the southern portion of the earth is not the same reality as those who are above the equator at March 21st, spring equinox time. It's opposites. So then if we move 3 months further to the summer solstice in June, where the sun appears to be at its highest peak, right? Then that's the winter solstice for those that are below the equator. That's their cold time. That's not their hot season. So they're experiencing a total different reality than those who are up north. And guess what? They have, and see, this is the beauty about cultures of the world. Cultures start their calendars whenever they want to. It depends on what they're measuring. Next month, February, is the beginning of the Chinese New Year. What are they observing? They are observing when the sun and moon, called a new moon, comes together in the constellation of Aquarius on average, because we're in the age of Aquarius. That starts the Chinese New Year, when the sun and moon are together in February. Sometimes it's January. All right. So then that's the New Year for people of the Hebrew Israelite or Jewish faith. They start their new year when the sun and moon are together, new moon, usually in Virgo. That's Rosh Hashanah, okay, head of the year. And then Islam, their year starts the next month after Rosh Hashanah, usually when the sun and moon are together. Notice in Islam, they got the crescent, so they're heavily based on the lunar cycles. They come together. Their new year is when the moon are together in Libra, the Libra new moon. You see? So it depends. What are you measuring? Are you measuring every time the sun and the moon are together right here in this constellation? Are you measuring when you're starting to see nature? Are you measuring the winter solstice as your new year? Because on the winter solstice, you actually start to get about 2 more minutes of daylight. So when December 21st comes, like the first day of winter, the winter solstice, you're starting to get a little bit more light each and every day. You're getting longer daylight now. Is that your new year? Because you're starting to get more light coming to the planet. But again, that's for you that is in the northern hemisphere, because the winter solstice for you, anything below the equator, it's the summertime for them. You see? So a calendar is strictly based upon what are you measuring. You got the right to measure anything you want to. You can create a damn Saturn calendar, and it would take approximately 28 to 30 years to make one full Saturn cycle. So that's, the Saturn calendar is 28 to 30 years for it to go full circle. A Uranus calendar can be 84 years to go full circle. What are you measuring is the point, okay? You can take the old, some say it was an Egyptian calendar, 13 months of 20 days apiece, and then say, you know what? We got 13 months in our system. It's still going to be 365 days, roundabout right up in that area. You see what I'm saying? So it depends what you want to measure, all right? To name it after your homies is dope. That's giving you the blueprint on how to set up your own thing if you shall want to get into it. Now, January the 1st, which is the United States New Year, I'm in full agreement with that being a new year, because I know not only is something called the perihelion is taking place when the earth is closest to the sun, but this is the only time that the earth is in direct alignment with Sirius. This is very important to understand that, because Sirius is the brightest star in all of the heavens. In fact, it's said to be a sun. In fact, it's said to be our sun's sun. Okay? This is where we're going, because you got to understand something. We're moving. The solar system is moving. The question you need to ask is, where are we going and why are we going there? Okay? So, as you can tell, the Earth's orbit around the sun is an oblong circle. It's like an egg. It's not a perfect shaped circle. So January the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, this time of year is when the Earth is on that little turn. It's closest to the sun at that time. But see, look at that. It's closest to the sun, but it's winter for us in the north, and those below the equator is summer for them, right? Oxymoron. But we're closest to the sun, but we're going around that corner. But most importantly, again, we're in direct alignment with Sirius at that time. Okay? Now, when you look at the Sirius-Earth relationship, guess what? That's the entire Earth that's in alignment with Sirius. Not a portion of a fragmented reality when you observe an equinox and then the other hemisphere is in the total opposite zone, right? Not when you looking at new moons and, you know, like, hey, even though a new moon thing is, that's our entire Earth is looking at the moon and the sun in the same constellation. But Earth being in alignment with the greatest star is dope. Now, this is how you know that we run this thing. The gods run this thing. Like, you gotta, don't focus on Agent Smith. Because when you focus on Agent Smith, that's what you become. You always cheering Agent Smith on. Talking about what Agent Smith doing. You got to become Neo, Oracle, and you know, you got to come the big players of the Matrix. And so you would have Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, R.I.P. In fact, today marks her 2-year anniversary that she transitioned back onto the other side to Sirius. All right. Now, you got to look at this. I showed this in the webinar. This is a real story, man. Now, here's a woman who wrote a book called The Isis Papers. And inside of that, she was giving you all of the symbols that white people use in games that they play to show you white supremacy, right? That was her understanding. Now, Isis is in the earlier form, Isis was Sobek, which was the Egyptian goddess of Sirius, depicted as a goddess with the star on her head. Facts. There's something called the Temple of Isis and Philae, all right, in Egypt, that the interest was dedicated to the rising of Sirius. So when Sirius rises in the morning, right around the July-August area, when it starts to rise before the sun comes up, that starts to mark annual flooding of the Nile, and that starts to get it popping far as the customs and celebrations are concerned. So this temple was dedicated to this particular principle, astronomical principle. Here comes a woman embodying that by the latter form of Isis, writes the Isis Papers. She checks up out of here on January the 2nd, 2016. That's when the Earth, like we are right now, the Earth is closest to the sun, but most importantly, it's right in front of the star Sirius. So her soul, literally, when the alignment came, she got up out of here and she went back to Sobek. She represented an ancient principle. So the mere fact that we see that, unless we're going to say the white man killed her, but get the hell out of here. Like, come on. This is how this thing really works, man. So you've been in control. Because if it was all like that, man, listen, you got to ask yourself one art of war question. One art of war question. And the art of war question is, well, damn, if they is really adamant about oppression, then the shit that we kicking out our mouth must be ineffective, because ain't nobody stopping you from teaching this goddamn truth that we say that we have. Why ain't they stopping us? They can. Why ain't they? You know why? Because ain't no fucking they. Not to the scale of, you know, it's a problem. We've been ousted them. All right. And you got to really understand that. There's small little pockets of them, but they don't run nothing. That's the truth. And that's my story. All right. Last but not least, let's talk about this super moon real fast. A super moon, when you see that, that's when the moon is at its closest to the Earth during that time. Okay. So either a new moon or a full moon that can be closest to the Earth at this journey for a whole year. All right. So we just saw that on January the 1st. Yesterday on New Year's, we also had a super moon. That's really dope. All right. You're going to see something coming up called the blue moon. The blue moon is when, now today's blue moon, and I'm okay with it, is when they say, oh, there's 2 full moons in 1 month. The month of January is going to have 2 full moons. One on, you see what I'm saying? One on the 1st, and I forget when the second one's going to come in at. And so that's cool. Probably around the 29th, 30th, right up in there. So that's cool. Historically speaking, though, that's not accurate. Because remember, the moon doesn't care about it being January. Remember, New Year's for Chinese, Islamic, and Hebrew culture start when the sun and moon are together in front of the same constellation, right? So it's the constellational backdrop that's depicting when to start, not January, right? So if the full moon happened in Aquarius 2 times, then that technically, historically, was the blue moon. The blue moon technically is when there are 2 full moons in the same constellation, not the same month. But modern culture today, so since humanity is just now waking up to the moon phenomenon, starting to pay attention a little bit, then it's like, oh, wait, there's 2 full moons in January. That's the blue moon, the second one. But the moon don't operate off of what we call January, February historical bodies like that. You know what I'm saying? Time bodies like that. It's really the constellation that exists behind the backdrop. If that's the same again, that's what we would call a blue moon. All right. So I just wanted to give you that, man. The key for the day is don't play yourself. All right. Don't play yourself. Straight up. And we can play ourselves by always giving the power and intelligence to they. That's a blueprint, man. That's a blueprint. I created, and trust me, I'm coming from experience. I done created 2 lunar calendars before. Okay? Starting on full moons. I done created a Sirius calendar before. All right? I done created the Jupiter-Venus alignments. All right? For the next 12 years. All right? Which is very important because you're not going to see them 2 come together at all in 2018. And that's a very abundant energy. Watch that Beyonce, Jay-Z video that I have pinned right here on the channel, because them 2 have that energy in common in the same place in the sky. And that's what produces a $1 billion couple. The planet of prosperity, Venus, the planet of abundance, Jupiter, when they together and 2 people know each other and they loving each other and that energy's lined up, shit. Better watch out. You can go to the bank with that one. All right, so don't play yourself. All right, self-activation workbook is on myastrologycoach.com, man. Go to the shop tab, get on that, and get on that mailing list. All right. So with that, I just wanted to say Happy New Year to you. It's indeed the new year, for real, for real. The only time the Earth is in direct alignment with the great Sobdek ancient Egyptian star Sirius. You are the power. All right. Peace.
Prophecy is what we all have to go by now.